Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for your patience as we sort of gather. So I'm very excited to be with you all. I'm Wendy Purcell, and it's wonderful to welcome you to this ISCN webinar. Today actually builds on the ISCN conference that we had back in the summer of last year, and that's when we featured some of the authors from our upcoming book. It's now published. The Bloomsbury Handbook of Sustainability in Higher Education. And you can actually watch that event on the ISCN website. We had great feedback on the session, and we went ahead and developed with ISCN a dialogue series based on the book and featuring some of the author teams. The last session, we talked about student leadership, community and entrepreneurship for sustainability. And again, that's available on the ISCN website. And today's session is about advancing sustainability in fragile context. So before we hear from our expert panel, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the Bloomsbury book. And just give you some insights. It's out now. So the book is published. It was published on February 9th. And it's a handbook which is really saying, let's look at the role of higher education in advancing sustainability, and let's take this as an agenda for transformational change. So recognizing that universities in general and higher education specifically are really, really critical to catalyzing the kind of action that we need to look at the transformative change that we want to see across the world in terms of delivery of creating a world that leaves no one behind. So together with my colleague, Janet Haddock-Fraser, we had the privilege, and it was a genuine privilege, to work alongside 65 different authors from across the world, very many different kinds of institutions and universities. And we assembled 24 chapters that represented examples from 16 countries, but millions of students. And we divided the book into two key parts. The first one looks at how things that are done within the institution, how adopting sustainability within the institution, how that helps that institution react and respond to factors outside the academy. So very small changes, one faculty member within their own classroom can actually be making changes that have huge influence within and beyond the academy. And the second part of the book looks at examples that draw together the way in which the institution is responding to activities, but working way beyond the institution, working through others, with others, what I call radical collaboration. So distilling out from that wealth of experience and insights and expertise, we developed a manifesto for change, a transformational change. And I think just to give you some insights to that, some really key messages came out. The importance of context and place. So respecting the heritage of the institution, the culture of the institution, the assets around that institution that really did matter, how that showed up in the mission of the institution, the leadership at every level. We're not just talking about senior leadership, but leadership across the institution, how that created the conditions for people to thrive. It helped people realize their kind of I guess their imaginations in many ways, and how strategy can really give some guardrails and guide rails to that. Students as key components of an institution, really driving in many ways the institution, and that sense of this is a marathon, not a sprint. Real patience to kind of keep pushing it away at that sense of change. And you see institutions adopting this mission and working at it year in, year out. Real insights around communication, how we create community, the dialogue that we need to sustain our own efforts and including everybody in that. How we build partnerships with others within institutions, and then using that to bridge to our kind of anchor roles in society, and actually adopting the kind of critical reflections of institutions, not just kind of coming to this agenda and kind of engaging with it without being critically evaluative of progress or lack of progress, or what the SDGs don't say, or the things where higher education is not being included in some of the policy decisions. So really keeping that sense of our own independence to approach this agenda. And then the recognition that initiatives, large and small, institutions, large and small, all of those efforts collectively can make a big difference. And you know, that big message that what we do here in higher education really does matter. So let's turn to the important part of today, which is really to hear from our panelists who put together their own experiences in a way that is just sharing generously. There was no sense that this is the best practice, the way to follow. This is what made sense in the context of the institution's heritage, the mission of the institution, the sense of what needed doing. So we have a whole range of experiences that people can draw from to build a solution that will make sense in their own context, in their own sense of activity. So we're going to hear from Aaron, talking about some work that was done within the institution there around pedagogy, around bringing community of faculty together with students. From Leonardo and Andrea about the living lab, a kind of pan-institutional kind of work. Eric and his team at the University of Aruba looking at how they build capacity and capability within the small island state of Aruba. And then from Perna giving some real insights into the university working hand in hand in community with Nepal. So please keep the dialogue going through ISCN and do feel free to reach out to me. I would be very pleased to talk to you. So the important thing now is to say, please post your questions. We'll pick those up in the session, but I'm absolutely delighted to welcome our first panelist, so Aaron from the American University of Beirut. Aaron, it was an absolute pleasure to work with you and helping realize this chapter, and I'm really excited to invite you to just give us some of the headlines and some of the insights from your work. So turn it over to you.
Sure. Okay. Thank you very much, Wendy. So I want to start by thanking the team, right, for setting up a series of roundtable discussions and completing basically the book that documents important initiatives, approaches, and reflections. I've also enjoyed tremendously the process of preparing this book and my chapter, of course, in particular. So I want to shed light a bit as I start on this aspect of fragile context. So when I started writing the chapter, the country was in a state of crisis. Of course, I'm talking here about Lebanon and pretty much the region surrounding us. So today, some 2 years later, the condition of crisis, let's say, the fragile context is much more acute at the social, the environmental, and the economic levels. This is manifested basically, if we look closer, it's manifested by the economic collapse and the continuing devaluation of the local currency. I would just like to clarify this point. So about 18 months ago, the value of the US dollar was at around 5,000 Lebanese pounds. And that was for us dramatic because it had fallen about threefold as a devaluation. Today, the value of the $1 is at 82,000 Lebanese pounds. So that's kind of really unprecedented and unimaginable as a devaluation. It's in fact one of the worst currency devaluations that has happened on this planet. The purchasing power is reduced drastically. So people have much more immediate and urgent concerns. Okay, they need to buy bread and food and secure water, etc. So we're really at the lowest level of the, if you like, the Maslow pyramid of needs. Another manifestation of the local condition is the fact that more than 80% of the people in Lebanon today are below the poverty line. as described or as identified by the UN agencies. And the last manifestation is that is the fact that there's very little that is being done to instate a countrywide vision that could ensure or at least pave the way towards a sound environmental setting. So it is kind of on the gloomy side, right? Significantly gloomy, I should say. In addition, and very recently, we're talking 10 days ago, the condition of crisis became worse because of the devastating earthquakes that took place. So that in the region, of course, these happened in Syria, Turkey, etc. But we got the aftershocks, and we actually felt, we keep feeling, by the way, all these tremors. So although none of the buildings in Lebanon actually collapsed, many incurred worrisome cracks in the structures and the envelope, and that made the inhabitants take to the streets and eventually live elsewhere. So I'm kind of trying to depict a bit this condition of crisis and the extent of fragility in the context. And so therefore, the condition of crisis, the imbalance that characterizes this particular context, can result from man-made mismanagement and corruption, which has been piling up for decades, at least 2 or 3 decades, and also from natural occurrences. And it's important to note that this condition of imbalance is changing over time, right? It's dynamic, it keeps changing. And so, unfortunately, it's not changing towards reform or resolution. At this point, it keeps year after year becoming worse. It's this negative cycle. So within such a context, a university setting, such as AUB in my case, the American University of Beirut, enables and even promotes the opportunity to address the different aspects of societal imbalance. This can be done in multiple dimensions, which I will outline here briefly. So I'm saying that horizontally, this can be done because of the capacity to address and study problems from multidisciplinary perspectives. This is, of course, facilitated by the fact that we have multiple faculties and that there's a proximity between faculties and faculty members. I say that this can be done vertically because the issues are addressed by people, all the constituents of the university, so students, professors, staff, technicians, etc., of different age groups and different backgrounds. And this brings a lot of relevance to the topics that are being addressed at the national and regional scales. The university is a melting pot, right, with people having regional and international backgrounds. And the third dimension would be the temporal one. I'm very keen on highlighting this aspect because the proposed approaches and solutions can forecast situations, right? We need to kind of look forward, identify what could happen, and address them within continuously changing conditions. This is, in fact, our local scenario here. The university is a platform that allows numerous forms of engagement, so students can learn from instructional activities, from campus initiatives, and outreach programs. So these are 3 very important dimensions that are supporting the case of how the university actually functions within this context. So instructional methods have proven to engage students in the learning process. So tools such as blended courses, activities, group work, class discussions, reflecting on the student work, actually address issues that are directly or indirectly related to certain aspects of this crisis. So revolving around the problem within a course, pedagogy, and instructional methods becomes very relevant. Students can participate and contribute in on-campus initiatives. There's a lot that's being done. We kind of take pride at AUB of having several initiatives that are really solving the problems that are not being solved outside the university, whether generation of electricity, reducing water demand, energy use, reducing waste production, social inclusion, etc. And then These outreach programs, I mean, the third aspect, which is the outreach that the university also provides within certain institutions, also proved to be very beneficial because students engage with the community. It's a direct engagement, again, to understand what the problems are and how to solve them within this dynamic, changing environment. In all of the above, the faculty, in fact, have an important and I would say instrumental role in shedding light on critical issues, right? Identifying the particularity of critical issues, building student capacity and culture, right? This develops into a cultural dimension, as well as forecasting possible societal, economic, and environmental conditions. This is achieved by, or can be achieved by, delivering course content in a more engaging and interactive method that includes theoretical instruction, of course, and hands-on implementation. This is proving to be really very interesting when the students engage in hands-on activities addressing these issues. Second is to promote interdisciplinary approaches by offering courses that actually are offered in different departments and have diverse student body in the classroom. I happen to teach one of these courses. It's so interesting to see how students, once they are beyond their silos, right, they really get, it takes a certain amount of courage to break from these silos at their advanced years, but this is being done and it's really refreshing to see some outcomes. Third would be to address the conditions of imbalance in our local, regional community, to expose students to the different scales of thinking and implementation options, right? So issues relating to infrastructure obviously have a larger impact and a different way of address than more particular aspects, let's say, or problems. And fourth, very importantly, is ensuring continuity in the thinking process. So both building on the course content, on the student assignments of projects, so that we can evolve the content both in the dimension of breadth and in the dimension of depth. So I end here by saying that the result of such approaches is tangible. As an example, a student who graduated 2 years ago, in fact, with a master's degree, he works at an NGO and is also part of a municipal council of a quite a large village in the mountains. And he, on behalf of the municipal council, has requested the support of the university to develop a coherent sustainability strategy for that village. So we have, as faculty members, so I set up a team in conjunction with, let's say, the people of the municipality and the intervention or the inclusion of students. We came up with the most suitable strategy for approach. We have identified the approaches and their relevance to the particular context, and we're currently working on fine-tuning that scope. So the student engagement in such a project is so important because it has this pedagogical dimension as well as the implementation. Eventually, hopefully, this will be implemented and the outcome will be fruitful. So the coordination and inclusion process, especially at the early parts of the stages of a project, is very important. Finally, it's interesting to note that a municipality can promote change, although the government and the ministry does not provide strategic vision or initiative. And I bring this back to as an analogy to the university, whereby a faculty member who has agency and who kind of develops and promotes change within the university can have an impact at the university and at the larger context.
Perfect. And I think it really came through so strongly in your chapter about how, as you say, that an individual faculty member realizing their agency and the way that kind of can ripple out to create, quite profound change in an environment as you described it, which is, really very challenging, but providing that stability, in an unstable space. It was fascinating. So Aaron, thank you, and to all your colleagues as well at the American University in Beirut. in Lebanon. So thank you. So now it's a great pleasure to invite Leonardo and Andrea of Newton University, Brazil, to talk to us about their chapter, which they called Living Lab, Newton Smart Campus. So again, a fascinating example. So Leonardo, Andrea, do you want to take us on?
Hi, Wendy. Thank you
Hi.
so much for this invitation. It's an honor for me and Andrea to share the insights from our chapters, everyone here in this webinar. So, hi everyone. Me and Andrea are going to share our experience that we wrote about the chapter about implementing the Smart Campus as a living lab to engage students with topics of sustainability, cities, and social change. But before jumping into how the Smart Campus works, which Andrea will walk through, I would like just three crucial elements that were fundamental to the success of this project to advance sustainability context. So the first one is how the university's culture is set towards sustainability. And I believe not just university, but any organization. So how organizational culture is set towards sustainability. And after all, culture shapes action. So in this first topic, the university that we implemented this Smart Campus in 2016 did a major change in how they approach education, how they approach teaching, research, and outreach. So back then, when we were doing this long-term strategic plan to the university, we decided to work to how develop with students a global awareness and a sense of local impact. So we wanted for the students to be able to understand, comprehend, and discuss global topics. At the same time, they were able to understand they could make a local impact, a local positive impact. And this balance between global and local led us to two different agendas. The SDGs, which is the global awareness part of this concept, and also the city strategic plan to 2030, which brings this local awareness part. So these two agendas became like the common language between our students, faculty, staff, different departments, different schools. So all of them were discussing the SDGs and the city strategic plan. So the second crucial element that I'd like to comment here is we decided to bring to our project all discussions around soft skills. So we know that this is a hot topic everywhere, right? Every university, every classroom is discussing soft skills, the future skills, the future work skills, the skills shortage in the world scenario. And we know also that today we face global and more complex challenges, which often conflict with the traditional curriculum that we have. And here in our context, we see the soft skills as a really interesting framework by which students could develop collaboration, co-creation, could understand how they could make a positive change in people's lives. And developing soft skills goes beyond the content-centric traditional curriculum that we have, because it deals more with the students' behavior, attitudes, their motivation. And schools have been implementing open-ended projects to develop the soft skills, develop the students' practice. So in our case, we knew that we should connect this, social impact with this focus on student development, with this focus on soft skills, in order to leverage the university leader support. So making this indissociable was crucial for our project. And the third and last aspect that I would like to mention is we had the two agendas, we had the focus on student development. Now we just needed like a platform, a structure from which we could build on our project. So for us, it was like kind of natural to stumble upon the concept and practice of living labs. The European network of living labs, they underline common characteristics of this kind of structures, which is it is user-centered, it is an open innovation ecosystem, it integrates innovation with real-life communities. So integrating innovation with real-life communities, that's all that we needed for our project. So it was really good for us, for the success of this project, to work upon the concept of a living lab. So now that we understand more these three key elements of the success of this project, now we can talk more about the Smart Campus. So Andrea, can you tell us a little bit about how it works?
Thank you, Leonardo. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. So, as Leonardo said, the all institutions were based on the SDGs, the smart cities aspects, but Smart Campus was the platform, was the materialized laboratory to perform all this stuff. So Smart Campus was founded in 7 years ago, in 2016, but it was in a partnership with MIT. There was a group of students that visited Brazil, and they suggested, "Oh, why you don't the word missed, found a laboratory based on smart cities." So that's why Smart Campus was found. Smart Campus was divided into 10 vertical axes. That it's an aspect from the city that to become a smart city, we have to solve a lot of aspects, like better education, a better technology, information and communication technology, better urbanization, resolve the problems from energy, art, culture, and mobility, security, health, and the quality of life, environment, industry, and business, and governance. So there were these 10 vertical axes. Each student, each year we performed selection to each student will be responsible for one vertical axis, and I taught things like smart cities, project management. So I taught him then how to do a project plan, schedule. So they acted as a project manager of this axis. So, for example, I have a student who's responsible for environment. So he acted as a project manager and has to solve problems from the campus. And but it's not only one any project. It will be specific to solve the campus problem, but it will be useful for the society, for the city, for the society. So it was a possible, it may be a startup, it may be, this idea will be maybe become a startup, a business model, and so on. So and I'd like to we have a few time to talk about Smart Campus, but in highlights we had in these 7 years we realized more than 100 projects that positively impact the campus and the society. So internally we impacted to about 200 students, and about 3,700 people we impact the external community. So it may feel for the humanity, but it's big. It's big for us. It's enormous for us. And so I'd like to point out some major projects. So one of the project that we shined the eyes, we bright the eyes, is the qualification course in a community in Belo Horizonte that's named Morro das Pedras. We had a lot of partnerships with NGOs to do a recycling in campus, to help people but one interesting, that was the NGO Bike Angel. That there's a Brazilian NGO. It's located in a lot of places in Brazil, but they teach children and adults how to ride a bike. It may be simple. I don't have ability to ride a bike. I know how to ride a bike, but I fear riding in the city. But there are a lot of people that it's just like me and want to they don't want to walk by car, so they help people to get confidence to ride a bike through the city. We had a project named we had a project to build a supervisory system in the campus. So if you want to make a campus like a city, like a smart city, you have to monitor the city. So we install a lot of IoT kits in the campus to see the noise level, the quality of air, and a lot of stuff like this. So the places in to park cars in the campus. So it was a project to perform a campus just like a city. And we two projects that we inspire us is the students did a smart cities course that was disposable for all the community, the academic community, and the build information online course as well. So all the students, they study about these items, and then they write a course that was available for the Newton students. So the impacts for the students who worked as trainees at the Smart Campus, they point out some steps. More than 95% show that working with the SDG programs are relevant for the career, and they pointed out reasons to stay in Smart Campus: working in groups, autonomy to carry out the projects, get better the knowledge of sustainability and environment, perform public presentations. Even there were CEOs from the companies that visit Smart Campus, and they presented as a graduated student, as a graduated professional. And they developed a lot of soft skills like critical thinking, problem learning, problem solving, ideation, active learning strategies, and they felt more confident of public speaking, critical thinking, working in groups, stay out from the comfort zone. So that's a parenthesis. One of the values of the Smart Campus is stand up and go and solve the stuff, the issues you need to solve, and bigger chances of employability. So it's a very small talking about Smart Campus. So if you want to know about, we are available to answer your question. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much. We've just covered so much ground there between you. Thank you. Amplification, employability, solving problems, and then stand up and go. I think that should be our motto. So we should just have a t-shirt. So thank you very much. I really appreciate both of you, and thank you for all the work you did on an excellent chapter. So it's now my great pleasure to invite Eric from the University of Aruba to talk to us about their chapter on sustainable development on the small island state of Aruba. So Eric, thank you to you and your colleagues. who came together to create this chapter and tell us a story. So if you can give us some insights, that would be wonderful.
Well, thank you, Wendy, and thank you, Wendy and Janet, for making it possible for us to contribute a chapter to this wonderful volume and this enormously diverse volume of scholarship on sustainability in higher education. This is a chapter written together with colleagues at the Catholic University of Leuven and the University of Aruba. So just to mention the names, it's Anouk Mertens, who was in the lead when it came to writing the stuff itself, together with Nadine Buys, George Gille, Patrick Arends, and me. And we've described the process actually in the past years and the appreciation of the challenges that have been overcome in setting up a program that is called Sustainable Island Solutions through Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. It's a program that's totally geared towards developing insights and developing resilience from a small island perspective into addressing sustainability issues in context. And context is very important for us. When you talk about context in small island states, you talk about the geographical context, but also the political context of these states where scale, small size, remoteness, insularity, and as a direct consequence of that, natural resource limitations and natural resource limitations, including limitations in land area, lead to high competition for these resources and for land among the different needs of the population living on islands. And this has enormous consequences, especially as normally island states are open economies where foreign investment and foreign international pressures are huge for sustainable development in small island states. And the first question to answer is actually, why would we care? Why would that matter? First of all, of course, you're talking about the individuals that live there. You talk about the people of these communities themselves, and you talk about people that are actually marginalized through the development, especially of these island territories, into often tourism paradise, into often offshore banking places that are, or tax havens, while at the same time the population is actually defrauded from their own livability. And to give you a perspective on that, from the idea of biodiversity, less than 1% of the world's surfaces is covered by small island states, terrestrial surfaces. When you look at islands, you talk about 8%. But over 60% of known extinctions since the arrival of mankind in places is taking place or has taken place in small island territories. And when you go further, 75% of currently endangered species are in small island states. And that's only looking at biodiversity. Look at another perspective and look at carbon footprint. That's where you'll see that actually the carbon footprint of small island states, of course, in itself is very low. But the carbon footprint of the individual in the small island territories is dramatically high. And that often has to do not only with the behavior of the people themselves, on the contrary, but with the fact that they are totally dependent on external imports and tourism industries that have a strongly wasteful side to that. So there are a number of contextual issues there that we need to take into account when talking about small island states and sustainability. Go on and think about the whole idea that it is also small island states and small island territories that are at the forefront of climate change, of global changes in weather patterns, in extreme events. By definition, low-lying areas, by definition, isolated areas, by definition, areas that do not have the scale to create redundancy in order to mitigate these effects. Also not the economic redundancy, the economic resilience in order to cope with extreme stresses. So, given small size, given the global stresses of climate change and changing international relations, given the biodiversity challenges, but also given their plain and simple characteristics, small island states face completely different challenges when it comes to sustainable development. And then we have an educational challenge in small island states, and that is often the dependency on solutions from larger continental universities that are projected onto these territories while not taking into account very specific characteristics, like when you think about electricity production, for example, a small island community like Aruba with 120,000 people and a permanent residence of about 30,000 tourists and other visitors, has only one electricity plant. There is no redundancy from other places where you can solve challenges, and it has immediate effects, for example, not only on having your fridge on, but also on the way hospitals are organized, airports are organized, life support is organized in these small island states. So you need to actually develop insights, network, and understanding, really cutting-edge research on sustainability challenges for small island states in order to build from that vulnerability that I just described a form of resilience. And as far as, if you should believe me, that resilience could also be leading in global development of sustainability thinking from a completely different perspective, because it is in diversity that you find solutions for these challenges. Now, then, given these challenges, we have been developing the system program together with the University of Leuven, and that is a traditional collaboration, you would say, but it is not. In that sense that while developing this collaboration, normally you would think the EU, the European Union, funds a project like this in order to set up something in a remote place. Aruba can be considered a remote place, about 7,000 kilometers from Europe, 2,000 kilometers from Miami, south of it, 30 kilometers north of Venezuela. And the whole idea normally is that the larger institution will come with a pre-packaged idea of what they consider to be a sustainability program, parachute it on the island, train a couple of people to implement it, and then leave again, actually having taken a very interesting project, having developed that, but not building a structure around it that is a long-term structure. The approach that we've taken with the KU Leuven together with the University of Aruba is the opposite of that, where starting, we have actually developed the insight that both institutes are not capable of setting up a sustainability program in this kind of context, but that together we do have the competencies and the abilities to do that. So where each institute in itself would definitely have failed, we strongly believe that in this collaboration and in building new ways of collaboration in this kind of fundamentally unequal contexts, you can find equality in complementarity and then develop from that perspective new approaches. What have we developed over the past years? In 2016, we started working on this. In September 2019, we launched the first program. That was the Bachelor of Science. And we have 3 Bachelors of Science, 1 in Data Sciences, 1 in Technology and Engineering, 1 in Bioenvironmental Sciences. And when you come to think of it, this is really what you need. Sorry for being so arrogant to put it like that, but looking at really contextual sustainability, because you need the technological solutions, you need the data, and you need to understand the bioenvironmental impact that every intervention that we do has on this insular scale, but also what the bioenvironmental impacts are that come from the outside and how you can mitigate these effects. And for that, again, you need a technology and engineering, you need those data sciences. Currently, that is running, and we have the first graduates of that program, so we're very proud of that. We also have started very recently our first cohort of master students that are also specializing in these 3 fields. And we have a cohort of 10 PhD students that are working on individual projects that address very specific issues and challenges of small island states. In doing so, we build network for the island, we build network for sustainability solutions. And just to give you an idea of the kind of class that I just come out of at this institute right now, in our 3rd year, I was teaching a class on food security being an absolutely wicked problem in small island states. But the students that we're actually teaching today, and it was a mixture of students from completely different backgrounds, both from Aruba And from Europe. Next to me is Hania Schuek, and she's actually a Polish student studying in the Netherlands at an international college, now working on sustainability challenges for small island states, thinking about food security and really developing together with Aruban students solutions and insights into what is needed for that resilience for the 21st century. So that's what our chapter is about, and the evaluation of that, of course, but I look forward to responses to that chapter. Thank you so much, Wendy, for giving me the...
Thank you, and welcome to your student as well. Fantastic. And hi, great to have you with us. Yeah, amazing. I mean, I think what is so wonderful about the chapter and just the initiative is that sense of context, as you described it, collaboration, you know, solutions that make sense, as you say, as opposed to ones that are kind of given to you to kind of fit, you know, imperfectly. And I loved your phrase about equality and complementarity. That was lovely. Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you to you, and as you say, to the team of authors who worked with you to bring us this chapter. So now our final speaker, I know it's late in the evening for you, Purna. So Purna, it'd be wonderful to invite you from Kathmandu University in Nepal to talk to us about your chapter, where I think you bring some of these themes together around university partnership and taking on that sense of university community partnerships coming together in Nepal. So Purna, can I invite you to unmute and give us some insights about your chapter? Welcome, great to see you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Wendy, for these opportunities. And you have last just 1.5 years back, just you have given this opportunity to write the paper on university and the community partnership. Though our university has done the wonderful works in this field, but being this, as I have been provided this opportunity, at least we have been able to document and materialize it in the form of the article in the edited volume, and it has been very well materialized. And also, I would like to thank this ISCN for providing these opportunities. At least we have been able to know each other's and what we have contributed since very beginning. And without any delay, I would like to directly jump into my chapter. Just I'm trying to take some of the references and illustrations what Kathmandu University has done, and it is in Nepal. Nepal is the mountainous country and characterized whether we have a highest mount peak, Everest. We call it Sagarmatha in Nepal, 8,448 meter up to that kilometer that we have that height. And this Kathmandu University is a very small university, and this is the non-profit and the basically public institutions and self-funding and self-financing universities, and we have a very less rely, or state is providing a very nominal fund to us. And the Kathmandu University has spent around 25-30 years of its lifespan. It is a very small in case of the university, and we are very much well demonstrated in terms of excellence in teaching and the researching. And later on, the Kathmandu University Authority has also realized that also we should be able to contribute to the communities and territory, and we have our very particular geographical area, very similar to the land grant universities that is practiced in a different part of the world, just like US, Canada, and India, and even in different parts of the world, focusing on that kind of the land grant missions, teaching, research, and the extensions, and we coined the term kind of the community service. And in this way, we have been contributing, and there are some kind of the very mutual and reciprocal relationship between the university and the community. And in the meantime, Kathmandu University has developed the 6 2030 visions and equity, quality, community engagements, and the global engagement. In this way, the different initiatives that Kathmandu University has developed, and community engagements is one of the very important. And also we have a very global engagement. We are very much tactful or kind of calibrating the different level of the collaborations at the global levels. After bringing all the senses from the universities from the abroad, that is the good. And academias are very tactful in kind of linking with the global initiatives and global knowledge and different kind of understanding. But our authority has realized that without having the locally rooted, and we cannot sustain it, even we not contribute much to our state. And our universities has also some philosophy, just like a university for state and society transformation. Basically, the US are like very similar to the community, just like corporate social responsibility. We believe in the USR. University has some kind of the social responsibility, and we have been very much tactfully utilizing this kind of things. And our university adhered to the principle of university for state and the societal transformation. As a part of the societal transformations, we are very much well engaged in kind of the dealing with the different kind of the community services, and how can we deal and how can we serve the community people. And one of the things is that Kathmandu University School of Medicine that has developed the 18 different outreach centers at to the different districts. That is a kind of that represents the one of the unit of the local governments. It's like a kind of the different municipal office and city office are there. Under the districts, there are the various rural municipalities and local governments and the some metropolitan cities and some kind of services. And by establishing 18 outreach center to the communities, and that is a very much well demonstrated, that is very much popular. And actually we are focusing while serving to the communities, and we are applying some of the essences, kind of the community actions that is well demonstrated by the Eleanor Strom, and with the Nobel laureates, and she was the professor at the Indiana universities, and she has done the wonderful work in the field of community forestry and the irrigation system, and how our community managed irrigation systems are there, how our community forestry management systems are making that kind of the essences. And we are also practicing that.
We're just losing your signal a little bit, so maybe turn off your camera, Perna, so you can get better signal. I think we've just lost Perna. If you try turning off your camera, we might get the audio signal might come back up. So I think when we looked at Perna's chapter talking about Nepal, one of the things that really came out really very powerfully, I think as he's just saying there, is how a national level kind of policy really set the scene for encouraging universities to kind of really focus on sustainable development. And I think that they then went on to take full advantage of that encouragement through the policy lever to say, okay, how can we realize this within the context of our own university? And you were beginning to hear, there we are, Perna.
Hello. Sorry
yeah,
for some kind
great.
of.
No, I was just filling in for you. So we were just hearing from you about the 18 different outreach centers from your medical school, and now you were talking about irrigation and forestry. So please pick up. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, the Kathmandu University School of Management, we have got 7 different schools, and similarly, as we have well demonstrated in case of the School of Medicines, and there are the many community engagement centers and outreach centers, health outreach centers. As the results, we have been able to serve our communities, and taking that side of kind of the learnings and very successful model that School of Medicine has demonstrated, and other kind of the schools, just like the School of Law, is also serving to the municipality, and by developing or making some kind of the guidelines of the code of conduct and how to regulate assembly at the local levels. And similarly, I'm affiliated with the School of Management, and also we have a Master of Public Policy and Department of Public Policies, and just we have been running. And after my return from the Fulbright staff from the Brandeis University Heller School in the Boston, and later on I became the fellow at the Harvard University Hutchins Center in the Harvard Kennedy Schools. And after my return, and we have been able to establish these programs. And as a part of this policy program, Department of Public Policy, Master of Public Policy in the Management, and also we have been able to establish one of the Kusum Policy Lab, and we have a latest constitutions in Nepal, and it was promulgated in 2015. And after that, our country has some kind of the mandate, and also we have a very constitutional commitments, and so that the state has to formulate the law within a period of the 3 years to protect the people's right. And that's why we have been we established the Kusum Policy Lab, and it is a kind of the leading center of excellence and responsible for ensuring the public policy and the governance. And this is the very credible think tank that we have been working, and it adopted the kind of some principle design thinking and the human-centric innovations, and we are focusing more on the policy research and evidence-based analysis and capacity building of the different think tank, and also the policy dialogue and communication. In this way, just we are running some of the services to the state for improving the policy governance in Nepal. Now, just we have been able to develop some kind of MOU, and also we are serving the kind of the federal government and provincial government. We call it provincial government instead of the state, and also the local governments. And in this way, we are running, and also we are running the outreach center on some of the things like just we have been able to just establish that Brown universities, Harvard universities, they have some kind of the very robust center at the White House. And similarly, also we're establishing some kind of the policy outreach centers or policy clinic to serve the local. We are providing that kind of things, and following some of the things that I have also mentioned for faculty, staff, and the students, just to be engaged in the whole process so that we learn each other's. And every year students are coming, and that is a very instrumental for vitalizing and revitalizing all the faculty and staffs to act as a very vibrant and kind of living lab. And in this way, just we are moving ahead. And also we have some kind of the student-led policy initiatives, tomorrow's policy leaders, and they are very well engaged as what we are doing, and they are following the similar kind of things. And they are also providing some kind of the memorandums and some kind of some policy recommendations to the different level of the governments. And in this way, just we are practicing. And generally, we believe in the transdisciplinary approach, and there are very much practitioners. And many universities have some kind of a tendency of providing the professors in practice. And similarly, all.
Oh, Prana, we've lost you again, sound. I'm just going to see if he comes back. If not, I think it will be useful if we can pick up any questions and comments. So, I mean, this is just, there's such a wealth of insight from these different chapters. And I think it's been really tough on all of the authors just to kind of distill them out into these key messages. So I really appreciate you just being so focused on sharing, you know, some of those kind of attributes of what is it that is supporting higher education to kind of really accelerate sustainability through the work that we do. So our teaching and learning, our research innovation, our civic and community work, and how I think all of you have spoken about how the work that we do gets amplified, you know, through those partnerships, the different scales that you're working on, you know, local to literally global problems, the agency of individual faculty members and indeed students. I mean, that's really come through. And then I think the kind of networks and collaboration. So maybe if we can just see if there are any questions. If not, if the questions are posted and we run out of time, we'll definitely get back to you. But maybe I could just go around the room and just invite you to give us, you know, just some thoughts around what would encourage, I think, more universities to really lean in very deliberately into this space in the way that you've described. What would really encourage, from your perspective, what things really would help universities lean into this space? Do you have some advice about what enables, what would encourage, what supports? And we've heard from Perna about the national kind of piece, but maybe I'll start with you, Aram, and then we'll go around the room, and Perna should come back in as well. So Aram, just to finish off, yeah.
Sure, thank you, Wendy. So that's a very important aspect, right? The encouragement that is, frankly, very much needed in a continuous manner, right? And the encouragement, well, the gratitude, if you like, comes from when we see that there is impact, right? This is actually resulting in change. That's, I think, the most encouraging aspect, that the students, in fact, in which, you know, we instill so much time and effort, and we go through a lot of collaborative, let's say, discussions, when they go and then their initiatives result in implementation, I think that's the ultimate encouragement. Mm-hmm. So of course we build on that, right? So these students that go out, do things, come back, collaborate, coordinate, etc. Of course, it facilitates a lot when colleagues are on the same wavelength, and people at the higher administration, for example, such as the case in here. I mean, our dean is very supportive of these approaches, and in fact, the human-centric approach, let's say, as well as the higher echelons of the university. So that facilitates, right? So we're not just rowing uphill or upriver, let me say, alone. So there is a kind of a supportive approach, but the biggest impact is when we see that there is actual implementation, whether in a project or in an article, right, or in any way. I mean, any kind of outreach that has applicability becomes very, very important for us to continue this trajectory. Wendy, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to listen to you. It reminded me of Jim Collins' flywheel, you know, when you're trying to really, really push it, and then you get this free turn, you know, you see the impact of the work that you're doing. So Leonardo, do you have some advice on yeah, what would help here, or what has helped?
From our experience, I believe, and adding to what Aram said, from our experience, there were two interesting outcomes that we had, and that may, you know, help encourage other universities to be on board of this. One, and Andrea also mentioned this, is how many partnerships we were able to do in the university, because we were working with smart cities, with sustainability, so different companies, partnership with local government, and this definitely leverage all of our research, our outreach activities. So because then we had like this common language with companies. So everyone is talking about sustainability, SDGs. So when the university is like speaking the same language, then I believe it's easier for us to build a partnership. And the second one is, of course, our students' employability. So we always like to see how our students, our alumni is doing in the market, that's their success. And when we are being able to present to them this kind of problems, being able to work with complex problems impacting the local community, working with companies, being this kind of environment, we see that this leverage our students' employability. And I know this is also one key indicator for universities to be worried about. So I'll pinpoint these two, the partnerships and the student employability.
But also you're highlighting something really important, which is this isn't sort of that we do our day job as universities and then we do this other stuff. What you're saying is this is what we do. This is about student employability. This is about our research. And that's a critical message, I think, when people frame it as something other, extra to do, as opposed to this is what we do. So yeah, Andrea, do you have anything to add to that?
Just add, I think it's really the partnership is important. I think that the proposal of the projects, we realize projects with proposal. By this example, I had that was a interesting story, because there was an old man. He met at the Smart Campus because he had a lot two ideas that would be revolutionary, and we help him to how to solve them. And then I realized that he was a non-lectured person. He had no instruction, but he was a professor for all the students. He taught by example. He was our better professor, our better teacher that we had in Smart Campus. He taught by example, and he impacted us enormously. So I think as all the items that Leonardo and Aaron said are important. So, but I will add the example, the working with proposal, teach by example, see how your project it may be very little, but when the students realize how would impact people, they work much better with much more joy.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, and also, I mean, again, you know, you're highlighting inclusion, innovation, entrepreneurship. You know, there's so many powerful things that come off from this. I've got a question, a couple of, questions coming in just as we, it always happens just as we come to time. But so my colleague, John Stengler from the Harvard T.H. Chan School. Thank you, John, for being here, Jack. Just interested in probing a couple of areas. One is, how do we overcome, there's a sense that universities resist change, or all organizations, frankly, resist change. I think they resist uncertainty. So, but how do we overcome, this sort of inherent kind of resistance to, people changing how things happen? And then also maybe to comment on how we collaborate with the private sector in particular. So I don't know, Perna, if your sound is back, if you want to start about how we overcome some of the inherent, our human kind of sort of resistance to change sometimes. How do we help? I mean, Andrea started there saying if we inspire joy, and Aaron's comments about, seeing the impact of our work. But do you have advice about how we can help people overcome, our inherent sort of human resistance to doing things differently?
Okay, thank you so much. And I have some internet issues. Anytime there will be the on and off. And last time I have delivered somehow everything. And in reference to the human resistance, right?
Yeah, just resistance to change.
Uh,
Any advice that you have from your experience?
Okay, for this, there are some kind of the resistance that and though we are claiming that there are some kind of the very mutual and the reciprocal relationships that we're trying our best to maintain, but not in the form of the resistance, but some way kind of academic calendars, and the academician are always busy, right? And communities are demanding their service at any time, even in case of the medical school. And our university is very much classicals that we have to teach some at least 10, 15 credit hours to the different level of the faculties. And in this way, the universities are not able to deliver the services. And during that time, communities has a lot of reservation that you people are trying to be engaged without the community affairs, but we need the service very instantly. And in this way, the community has some kind of the reservations, and faculties or campus communities are not being able to solve as expected, as intended. And there are some kind of the community's reservations, not in the form of the resistance, and there are some kind of the grievances from the community side. And in terms of the resistance, every time communities are not able to accept, and whatever the things that we are advising to them, and somehow also we are realizing that it is not a need of the communities, and so that there should be in a both way, and also we should be able to understand our communities very rightly and what is need and interest. And generally academia are trying to practice what they are learning the literatures, and that doesn't fit to the community. And there in this way there are some kind of the mismatch between the interest and the expectation of communities. Yeah, that this happens.
I think that's very wise. Yeah, I mean, thank you. And we're just at time now. So, but just pointing to, just the sheer pressures on faculty and staff and time, but also, as you say, just understanding the actual needs. I think, we saw that from Aaron's presentation, saw that from Leonardo and Andrea, and also from Eric. So all of those illustrated well. So I want to close this out. Thank you to everyone for bearing with some of the technical difficulties we've had. Had some technical gremlins in today. So I appreciate you staying with us. Our next session is on May 23rd, and we'll be talking about strategic sustainability for change. So we'll be taking this theme of change resistance, and strategic sustainability for change. And we'll have speakers from higher education from Canada, from Nigeria, from South Africa, and from the United Kingdom. So thank you to ISCN for all your support here. Thank you to my expert panelists and all of you as authors that helped realise the Bloomsbury Handbook of Sustainability in Higher Education, an agenda for transformational change. I think you set out your stalls really well. So thank you everyone for joining us. Appreciate that. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Wendy. Thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Thanks, Wendy, for the invitation.
This opportunity.
Have a nice
Thanks, everyone.
day. Bye-bye.
You too.
Namaste, namaste,
Nice
bye
seeing
bye.
you all. Bye-bye.
Namaste, namaste.